to start this interview, just a few basic questions, or maybe what could you tell us about this piece, how it happened, why did you choose this combination of instruments, and etc.
Well, Carol Wincenc, who I wrote it for, is a wonderful flutist. I had written 3 pieces for her already, and she was celebrating her 60th birthday, and she wanted me to write a piece for Flute and String Quartet. So I said yes, because first of all, she's a wonderful, really wonderful musician, and I love working with her and writing for the flute. So it was the Juilliard Quartet that premiered it with her at Juilliard in March of 2010. And I remember sitting there dying. See, for composers, to hear their piece for the first time is extremely anxiety provoking, because they're like architects. They have we musicians, composers, have a very fine blueprint. It's a very specific set of instructions that you hand over to players. It's almost like an architect handing over his drawings to the contractor. Very specific. So then this goes up fast with music, because the notation's all there. All they have to do is read the notes and rehearse a bit, and it goes up. And it's like it's quite an experience if you're very close to it, and you're really involved with what your decisions are. The reality of it is very challenging. It is like seeing a house. Imagine you're an architect and you sit in your studio, and you have 2 feet by 4 feet and 6 feet over here, and then you have 2 by 4s, and you have to have the right nails. Everything has to be very specific, because otherwise you can't build the building. And then you let's say you go away for a while and you come back, and then the building's there. You're like, oh my God, the pink, that was a wrong choice. Wrong color, or those windows, wow, what was I thinking? They're way too big. The difference, though, with composers is they can change it. Architects can't change it. They can't say, oh, change, well, they can change certain things. But so when I went to the premiere with Juilliard, I had already decided this piece was not going to work. I'd heard the rehearsals. I had already decided it was just not working. And so I sat there, like 500 people were there. The place was packed. Carol's a very well-known player, and she knows how to really get a big audience, And it was filled with all these, musicians, high-level musicians. And I was like I was dying the whole time. The whole time I was just dying. So at the reception, there's this line waiting to congratulate me. And I said, okay, they're doing that because they want to meet me, or they just want to be pleasant and polite and congratulate me. But the way they were telling me how much they liked this piece was, I've been around 60 years with this kind of thing, It was very genuine. They were genuinely excited about this piece. And I was like, how could you think that? I was still in that mindset. It took 3 more performances of that piece to convince me that I did okay. 3 more performances.
May I interrupt? I would be curious, what was the cause of this kind of feeling that you really needed to go 3 more times to like the piece? What you didn't like? Is there something particular?
I think, there's a perceptual problem with composers. There are some composers who write terrible music and they think it's great, and they're not aware that their perceptions of it are actually not right. Right? And then there's the reverse. There's me, who thinks it's a horrible thing, and it's actually working. And it's taken me years and years and years to figure this out. And I think it's a protection. See, because I care so much about it, that it's a kind of a protective thing. It's a shield. Mm-hmm. Like nobody can tell me there are problems with this piece because I know what the problems are. Mm-hmm. So I go to the other extreme. I've been doing that for years, but in this piece, I did it even worse than normal. Mm-hmm. I don't know why. I guess I cared about it too much or something.
Mm-hmm. Huh. That's interesting. I think there are also many musicians like this that after they interpret, they are so disappointed because of something, some bad feeling in the concert, and then
yes.
when they listen it on the recording, they think that it's actually not bad and not bad.
That's exactly really right. That's exactly the same thing.
And the reverse.
You're so close to what you're doing, and you care so much about it that when you make a mistake or you do something wrong, the whole thing's a disaster. You know, you're like, it's negative, and the people come up to you afterwards and say, "Oh my God, that was the most beautiful performance." I know. Yeah. I did that with an orchestra. I was in residence with 4 different orchestras, and one of them was St. Louis.
Yes.
They were doing some, I think it was, I can't remember, Bartók's Concerto for Orchestra. I can't remember. Mm-hmm. It was fantastic. And I was just blown away. I went backstage to congratulate them, and they're all going, "Oh, no, I missed the A in measure 4. And they were just so negative. And I'm like, don't you realize what you just did? You know? Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's it's interesting I believe there's that in these conversations we will have many things to talk about, because this the talking about music compositions, it's so unlimited. Yeah. So and now when I'm listening to you and thinking about all these ideas, it just comes to my mind that also what your colleague Luis was saying, that perfection is not something that makes things beautiful. And
it's true.
And we should really not obsess about this. And I realize it on myself as well. The older I get, the more I actually think that, I don't really care about this if I mess up, or it's not going to be how I imagine. But it's more important how it's going to feel, what message it sends.
Exactly. It's the context and the commitment and the passion.
Yeah.
I did a project called Made in America, and there were 65 orchestras that played one piece. They were community orchestras, and they went from very amateur to very professional. And I went to 20 of them because they triple booked, so I couldn't go to all of them. I conducted 8 of them. And the first one was the most amateur, and he called me a year ahead of time. He said, "Listen, I have probably the most amateur of the orchestras, so could you get the music to me like a year ahead or something?" I said, "Well, wait a minute, I didn't even start the piece yet." But I said, "Look, I'm going to use you as the guinea pig for this project, because I want your orchestra to be able to play this piece." And he said, "Great." So we worked together. And there, I sent the music once in a day, 4 hours a day, you know, community orchestra. And I get out there, and I was treated like this rock star. I mean, I was like Madonna. I mean, I couldn't have gotten a huger welcome from an orchestra ever. And I'd been around a lot of orchestras. And I sat down, and these people who were real amateurs, they could play the instrument, but barely.
Yeah.
They knocked their socks off to get every note right and to get the rhythm in. And they had this football coach kind of guy who was like, no, we have to do that again. And no. And he was like energizing them. It was the most impassioned performance I think I've ever gotten. And so that's the one side. Then one of the other orchestras was very professional. It was like a community orchestra. It was like freelancers from a big city. And they knocked the piece off, you know, it's a piece of cake. They didn't want to actually do it, you know. And I walked in, and it was so boring, not interesting. They played everything correctly. Yeah. There was no commitment, no passion, nothing. I was like, why am I here? You know, I want to go back to the other orchestra, you know.
Yeah, this is unfortunate that very often in the good orchestras or the professional orchestras have tendency to really become this kind of, it's just a job. And it's very sad. What I wanted to say that this is what I actually love about the whole project of the European Youth Orchestra, because it's just, it's aimed to, of course, to reflect the ideology of the European Union and values of the unity, diversity. So it carries this message since 1976. But besides that, it's also such a great opportunity for young musicians as me, as I used to be, and others to really have the feeling of to be in a professional orchestra. And
are these are students who are picked from different countries?
Yes, they are doing auditions in each country, in each Europe country, and choose the best players from there. You have to do the audition process, and
then they all come together in one place.
Exactly.
How many times a year?
Well, it's always different. It of course depends on the funding, and then about the management, how well they can organize, how many concerts they can organize. But usually it's every summer. Every summer there is a concert tour. And then they play in a major venues in the world. Yeah, they have many concerts.
Wow, fantastic!
They go
so they get a chance to work together for a period of time.
Exactly. Yeah, there is.
And then they go out and do these tours.
Exactly. There is intensive rehearsal week, like for 2 weeks. They are usually nowadays they are in Austria, around Vienna. They are rehearsing there. There is Grafeneck, and then after the rehearsal time, they are going on a tour. And the tour is very often like a long tour, many concerts. Yeah, and they play very often in Berlin, London, BBC, proms, etc. Yeah, it's
what a wonderful opportunity for them.
Yes, it's a wonderful project, and I was lucky. I was there one time, and I had the opportunity to play with them. It reminded me very much Bard, like our Bard orchestra, because just the energy and the spirit of the people. Everyone is happy to do it. Everyone play the most, and it's not annoyed. And then it's a unique experience to do this.
Yeah, but also they get to know the culture of another country.
Exactly,
because they're playing next to them, and they get to talking, and they get to be friends.
Yes.
And what a cross-breeding thing! It's so beautiful with an aim to play as best as we can together. Yeah.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Yes. That's why I still would like to help out or do something with the institution, and like now for the concert series of the chamber music works. So, and we went a little bit off the topic. Yeah. About the rising. I have of course a few more questions. So you said that that you were not satisfied at the beginning, the first performance. I would like to ask a little bit more questions about what came before the rising. What how you started to write a piece, and why you called it rising? What does it carry?
That's a good question. As a composer, I've developed my own voice over a long period of time. And one thing I've noticed is that I'm very interested in the action of a line.
Yeah.
Is it going up? Is it staying the same? Or is it going down? basically those are the actions of music. That's all you have, those three. And I've been exploring them unconsciously for a long time. And the idea of going up is challenged me for a long time. And there's so many ways to go up. You can go up slowly and heavily. You can go up fast. You can go up softly. You can fade up. You can crescendo up. You can get louder as you get up. I mean, there's just a million ways to go up. But you also have to have some tension in the piece. So you have to have another theme, which is staying or going down. And so that you create a tension with the rising, that it has some kind of meaning to it because it has a different context around it. So this piece, I decided to put that title right up front, Rising. That just says it all.
Yeah.
And you see right away, you know, the flute starts going up right away. No.
Yes. Yeah, of course, it's it's kind of self-explanatory, the title. Yes, Rising. It's clear that it's gonna have something with the rising, and the listener has to be really intuitive, like in a way to notice all kinds of possibilities to rise, in the piece. I was trying to, I'm not a musicologist or like someone who would really understand the theory, so I don't usually do the analyzing so carefully, but I do listen carefully, and I immediately noticed that the rising in the flute. Then I had a feeling that the other instruments are kind of fighting with the rising of the flute, and it's such a beautiful blend for me when it's like, again, diversity, like in this sense of the rhythm and the intonation, how it fights, but it creates something very interesting and unique. And
thank you.
It's very nice.
It has to do with speed also, because the other thing I'm very interested in is, other than the action of the line, is the speed and the timing. Is it going slowly, or is it going fast within slow, or is it going slow within fast? So you get those kinds of tension lines. So tempo to me is very important. What tempo are you at? And how do you telescope the tempo inside of that? And then, of course, the texture. Are you in a big register? Are you in a small register up here? Or are you down here? So the weight of that time is being enhanced by the texture and location of the weight of the objects. So it's a complex interaction of going up within time and within texture, and also dynamics.
Yes,
are you crescendoing? Are you not crescendoing? Are you going somewhere, or are you retreating? So it's a complex interaction, very sculptural and very choreographic. I think of myself as a choreographer of sound.
Yeah, it's you're right. I agree. As when I'm thinking, when you are talking about your piece and what I remember how it sounds, and of course I already start to practice it.
Oh yeah! By the way, you just got the music 2 days ago, right?
Yeah. Thank you so much. This is it's a disaster now, like to get the music and.
Oh no! I went to send this package and they said, sorry, can't send this package. Why not?
Unbelievable.
Oh, it's going to Europe. What? I never had that happen before. Ever.
Yeah. It's crazy now. So I finally have the music, and I finally saw it written down, because it's, of course, it's different in the music and in the recording.
Sure, yeah.
And it's I love that basically the balance as well between the instruments, the importance.
That was one of the hardest parts, because the flute is it difficult? It's you have to be careful with the flute. You can't see with the string quartet. You have two violins, and they're in the same register, basically, as the flute. You have to be very careful to stay out of the register of the flute. Mm-hmm. And then when the flute wants to get really high energy, let's say in a middle register, then you have to disappear. Yeah. Because you can't compete with that sound in the same register. If it goes into a high register, it's fine. They can blow everybody away in a high register. Yeah. But the middle and low register is very careful. You have to be very careful. Yeah. So I'm very proud of the fact that the flute can be heard all the time in this piece.
Yes, this is, of course, I noticed these things immediately when I listened to a piece, how well it is balanced. And I find this so well structured, like according to also the parts of the instrument that there is. I don't like, of course, from the cellist perspective, I don't like when the cello is omitted only to or the viola as well, I believe, only to some harmony background or something, but I really love that there is a very important role for the cello, and
I gave instrument cello a soloist.
Yes, I love the solo.
I said, okay, which one of these instruments would be the best to step away from the flute? Cello. It's low, expansive.
Yes, exactly. This is when you were talking about the contrasts, fast, the quinto last, and then cello has a contrast long note, and it makes this tension. It's a really wonderful piece, and yeah, I'm very happy we are going to play it. What about, oh yes, again, about the title. I know you explained it very well. Now I go a little bit off of the obvious explanation. And I would like to know, first of all, did you come up with the name first, or you had some vision what you would like to, where you would like to go?
I usually, I like Debussy. You know, Debussy wrote these 24 preludes for piano. You know, those preludes for piano. They're beautiful pieces. And the titles are really phenomenal because they reflect the pieces so beautifully. I found out that he titled those after the music, not before.
Interesting.
And so he picked, the music dictates the title, not the other way around. So that's what I do with all my music. I write the music and then I figure out the title that represents it.
Mm-hmm. Cool. It's very interesting. Yeah, I was thinking that, yeah, like, did you had such a clear vision what you wanna write, or it just spoke to you?
I never have a clear vision. It's like swimming in the ocean. Where am I going here? Oh, there's something over there. You know, no.
Oh, yeah, it's very interesting. And another question about the title, because I noticed you have also very interesting titles in your composition in general.
I work hard at those.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because I want to give a window that is true, not a phony window. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I don't want the title to be something that doesn't mean anything. Well, you could do that, but the worst kind of title is the one that promises something and it isn't that at all. You have to be careful with titles. They can get too specific and too controlling, or they can mean nothing.
Yes. Yeah. For me, it's interesting that it's just a few of your works have also the titles are a little bit not provocative, but they raise the questions. Like, for example, the title "Uncommon Woman."
Yes,
I love that. Then I was thinking about the rising, the turning points. It's just so one can explain or really make a philosophical debate in your head what it still can represent besides the musical qualities, like what we just talked about.
Well, you know, early on, I wrote a piece for oboe and piano, and it was called Opa Ebony. And it was being played at the Manhattan School of Music, and there was a musicologist there, a young guy, and he calls me up and he says, I have researched those words in the African library, whatever, and I can't find anything about what does this mean. It was an anagram of oboe piano. I just took the letters and switched them around. But it came up with ebony, which is actually a black piano, you know, opa, oboe, you know, that's what it was. And he was doing all this research, you know, trying to figure out where it was from and stuff, everything.
Yeah, but it's wonderful. This is what I'm talking about, the titles, that they will find some person in the audience or the listener that will do the work, do the research. And
I have had many. I wrote a piece called Amazon.
Okay, yes.
And it was just when I was getting into the whole feminist reading. I was reading a lot of books, feminist books, and Amazon, you know, was like perfect.
Yeah.
And it also reflected I spent 9 years in South America, and it was a river. It had an image of a river. That all worked beautifully. Oh, I thought it was a great title because it brought everything together. Mm-hmm. So this woman comes up to me after hearing the piece and she says, you know, I heard the monkeys in your piece. Monkeys? Well, you know, monkeys, Amazon monkeys. And she had this whole story about what she'd heard, which had nothing to do with anything, but no. You have to be careful with titles.
Yes. But I mean, music is like the limit. There are no limits, like in the imagination. I know that you had your clear vision, but it's so interesting that it can evoke like totally different picture in someone else's mind. Yeah?
Well, you know, I think some people are very verbal. They're mm-hmm. more verbal than they are musical. And so the title becomes more of an entree into the piece than the music does.
Yes.
Yeah, poets and writers like that are very much like that. And so fine, that's what they do. They deal with words. But music has its own, the words to me, the titles are just almost nothing. They should be nothing. Mm-hmm. You know, they should be just a little tiny window into the piece.
Yeah, a hint.
Yeah.
It's going to be about, Yeah, because of course, I'm also one of those people that like to think or maybe overthink things. And then I also like the title only because of Rising. And at a particular moment in our society, or the turning points, we were also considering this piece to play, but unfortunately we had no clarinetist available. We wanted to play that. But then I found a flutist, and then I knew that there is another piece by you, Rising, and it works so well in the program. And
great, that's wonderful. Yeah. Where is she from? Is it she?
She, and basically all of the musicians are from Slovakia, except of my wife. Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. So all the players are from Slovakia, and all of them were or are members of the European Youth Orchestra. That's it's aimed for them to participate.
Are you playing?
I'm playing, yes.
Oh, fantastic! And Aisha's playing too.
Exactly, yeah.
Oh, terrific! Yeah. Wow, it's a good group then.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I'm looking forward to cooperate, like to do the collaboration and then have nice concerts. Yeah, it's gonna be wonderful.
That's fantastic. Thank you for picking that piece.
Yes, so happy. It's so good that I actually know you, and that I
right.
that I can bring something, introduce you to Slovakia, to European Youth Orchestra. This is another question what I wanted to ask you, because I know that you are I read many articles that New York Times wrote that the most successful woman composer of all times, yes, and that you are well known in America. But what do you have to say about this kind of two different worlds, like America and Europe and the rest.
I think they're very separate.
It's very separate, yes.
Because there aren't very many Americans, it seems to me, who go to Europe. I mean, maybe Steve Reich, Martin Feldman, Copeland,
yes,
obviously, maybe Barber too, Barber maybe, Phil Glass maybe. Who else?
Well, it's when I'm thinking also about current composers, it's still this kind of trend to just stay there. It's kind of like in a way a similar story what I was talking before about Slovak composers staying in Slovakia and composing there and etc. Yeah, so I guess it's everywhere. And I just wanted to ask you if you tried to also maybe be more present in Europe as well, or
I don't push myself at all.
Okay.
Either my music goes there or it doesn't. You know, I mean, I'm not an advertisement for myself. You know? I don't even have a website. I have, my publisher has a website for me, so I don't need. I'm not on Facebook. I really feel the music has to pull its own weight. But having said that, you know, unless I know somebody like you who says, "Oh, I know her, and I should do a piece of hers," then it's hard to make it happen. I don't know. Maybe this will generate some more interest in other players. I don't know.
Well, I think there has to be a right impulse and then build on it. And I hope that this will also create some impulse. And personally, like when I talk for myself, I'm really determined to continue the work of organizing things. And I'm sure it's going to happen because I also have a good connection in Germany and in Switzerland. Many friends, wonderful players. So, and when they heard about this project by UYO, they were very excited.
Oh, terrific! Well, thank you. Yeah. You could be my agent.
Well, gladly.
I'll pay you. No, I'm not.
No, come on. Yeah. Okay, moving on. What do I have more here? Yeah, of course I did many. I read a lot about your biography, how you started and how you got to the place where you are now. Maybe to sum up something from your life, especially for the contemporary composers today. What would you say was the key, or maybe one of the virtues that you had to become maybe not recognized, but to achieve this goal or this success? What you have in America?
The what?
The recognition in America. What you as a female composer? What was? Can you characterize this?
Well, quality? You know, the whole history of women composers is pretty poor. Yeah. And I studied it. I actually did a lot of festivals of women composers, and I learned the history, which was fascinating to me, actually. And I didn't realize that I was, in the 1970s, one of the pioneers. I had no idea until I started studying the history. I thought I was just kind of, you know, composer coming along. I had no ideas that I started to wake up, actually, in the 70s. They had the consciousness raising years when the women started to become more and more articulate about our needs, our presence, our identity, everything. I started reading all those books and, you know, listening. And I started looking around and noticing that the boards and panels that I was on, there weren't any women. I was the only woman. I didn't notice that before until I was getting educated. Yes. And then I started looking around at the music scene, like, where are the women? And the more I looked, the more interesting it got for me to learn that we had this whole history, and that I was kind of in the foreground of the cutting edge of this, which made me feel a whole lot better, because I thought I just was kind of hiding in the shadows, you know, unnoticed. Who cared, you know? But it didn't matter to me. I was just trying to write the best piece I could. But the more I started to recognize that, then I started to be more active myself. Like I would create festivals of women in music, and I started studying, researching. I have a whole library here of women in music. Yeah, so that's, and within the last year, 1919 was a very significant year. Sorry, 1920.
1920.
No, wait a minute. Sorry. 1920 was a significant year because that was the vote for women. Okay. But 2019 was also a very significant year because that was the Me Too movement.
Yes.
And that had significant impact on us. Significant. Yes. Because it, all of a sudden, I was getting, this past year, I got 4 major awards. I mean, major. The Orchestra League gave me their highest award, which is the Gold Baton. The Chamber of Music America, they gave me their highest award. And Musical America put me on in that big thing. I was the composer for Musical America. And it just exploded last year. I'm like, wait a minute, why did this come now? And it was the Me Too movement, because the Me Too movement was laying the groundwork for people thinking a little differently, saying, yes. You know, I could see these board members. I've been on a lot of boards. I could see them sitting around going, okay, we got to give the gold baton to somebody. So who? Oh, well, you know, it should be a woman. Oh, absolutely. Should be a woman. Total agreement, unanimous. Maybe a composer. Oh, we haven't given to a composer in many years. Very good idea. Woman composer. She should be older. You know, somebody who has a track record. I could just see the dialogue of this board, you know, and everybody going, oh, great idea, great idea. There were like me and 4 other possibilities, you know, in that category. And I was very honored to be chosen, but I was actually kind of blown away by the significance of these awards, all one right after the other. So I wrote a piece for the New York Philharmonic, which is called 1920, 2019. And the project was called Project 19. And they commissioned 19 composers, women composers, for the vote, which was in 1919. Well, no, sorry, it was called the 19th Amendment. So that was my title. I thought that's a great title. It has nothing to do with the piece. It has to do with the
event,
significance of the project. Yeah.
Wow, that's again. I am really like, you are not only a wonderful composer, but you're really giving honesty in your intentions. That's wonderful. This is like also what you said about this was actually very interesting to me to listen to you to talk about your idols, or like something that you admired in your life, like a Copland, that you liked his music because of his honesty, or there were other examples that were going to this direction.
Abel Pärt.
Yes. Or a Messiaen.
Messiaen.
Yes.
Beethoven.
And also the explanation of Uncommon Woman. You also dedicated it to a few personas, women personalities that were the risk takers. And then I was just thinking that basically that's a kind of description of your personality and your persona as well.
Oh, thank you. Thank
Because
you. That's very nice.
exactly when you are talking about the titles and how you create them, it's exactly explanation of being honest, and it's wonderful. And the risk taker as well. I mean, you explained that the Uncommon Woman, it was just kind of a cool idea of reversing the title of Copland.
Well, that started that way. Yeah.
Yes, started that way, but you know, it's again a little bit provocative, like, oh, Copland, someone is reversing his name, but
Yeah,
it's
right.
Brilliant. It's really brilliant.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So we covered quite a big topic, and we should. I think I'm not quite sure how much time we still have, but we maybe have a space to add one more question or one more topic to talk about before we finish. I just have to choose the right one, or that will be good for the end. Just tell me if you could explain. Maybe I know that you did not have so much time to think about or to study about the EUYO or the European music, or maybe this project or the other composers in the program that we are going to play in Slovakia. How do you feel that your work, your piece of writing is included in this program? Does it fit in there? Do you said that you listened also to your as I am right, your former student Jessie Montgomery.
Well, she really wasn't a former student. I had worked with her a couple of times. But
okay.
Yeah.
But you had the experience of her to meet with her, to maybe work a little bit or hear her music before.
Well, she's come a long way since then. That was like 20 years ago, at least 20 years ago. And what's wonderful about her is that she's a player.
Yes.
See, you know, that's another subject, but I strongly feel that composers should be players, even if they're not professional players. But the other way also, the performers should be composers, or they should compose once in a while, because we're dealing with the same page, and one of us is on one side of the page and the other one's on the other side of the page, and that has created a split in the 20th century historically that has not been great for either one. And Beethoven was a player. Everybody, all the big names were players or conductors or something. They were, you know, they were on the other side of the page a lot. And so I think it's great that she has been a player for a long time. She was in 2 quartets, I think, and active violin player. So
yes.
That informs her music on a certain level, which makes it a lot more communicative.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's I think it also kind of the styles what she has and what you have, and the Slovakian composers. It's I think it fits together quite well. And
I see. In terms of the culture, yes, absolutely. To have music play off each other culturally, stylistically, is very important, because it puts the other person in perspective.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I wish there would be I wish I could have included some Slovakian woman composer, but unfortunately it was not possible. And to find the right fit to this program, to this short, it's going to be short program, only 45 minutes. I had to find some composer from Slovakia that is male composer again, but. I must say that Frico Kafenda, he's unappreciated, not so appreciated in Slovakia, and not so often played. So he's also kind of in this, not a category, But like also as you described, like in some kind of corner in the big field, and I really want that people notice him as well.
Well, he's also much older.
He's
Is
also
he dead?
he's dead.
Is he alive?
And, no,
No, he's dead. Yeah,
he's also dead. But kind of, yeah, he's 20th century composer.
Early 20th century.
Early
Yeah,
20th century. Yeah, the piece was 1916 composed. Yes.
That's way back. When?
It's way back. Yeah.
1916. Yeah. That's 100 years ago. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. No. But it was also the background of the composition, his life. It's also very interesting. And when I would never guess that he actually wrote this piece when he was he was prisoner in Russia because of the war. Yeah, and he wrote it around that time. So yeah, one cannot really notice this kind of like for example, in the work of Messiaen, like the heaviness of the time. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And Messiaen's quartet for the end of time, written in a concentration camp.
Exactly.
That history. Wow. That's. And you've played that piece, right?
Yeah, I worked with you on it because yeah, you played it for many times. Yeah.
I just worked on it with 2 groups last year.
Oh, wow!
They both did a fantastic job. Yeah.
It's undescribable to really play such a compositions that have again more like profound meaning or background. It's not just a ABA composition, something really mathematical or like theoretical, but it has a message.
It's also it's very unique.
Yeah.
I don't think you find music that slow in anybody's music except maybe Parrot, opera Parrot. Yeah. But the slow parts of that, the cello movement, the last movement, they really challenge time. Really challenge time. And that unison movement, that's also very unique.
Yeah.
Nobody's written a whole quartet playing unison through 8 minutes of music or 10 minutes of music, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of uniqueness in that piece.
Yes. And I can hear that of course I read about it too, but it's just the way how you compose or the harmony you use. Sometimes maybe for a millisecond I hear harmony that was used in Messiaen or even Shostakovich.
That's
sometimes.
True. That's true.
Yeah. And it's but I like it. It's
and Stravinsky.
And Stravinsky as well. Yes, I like it because it's just really for a brief second one can notice it. So it's not, you still have I can the more I listen to your composition, I can recognize your composition that it's you. That it's not like that you would be so influenced by them that I would hear Messiaen all the time or Stravinsky. And this is one of the things what you were also teaching us in a
that's right.
class, that we have to find our voice.
Can you see the pictures behind me?
Yes, I see.
Yeah, you know who this one is over here?
It's not very, very clear because there is a reflection, but maybe you can help me. Oh, you have to
Can you
help
see
me.
it? Beethoven.
Okay, it was not clear.
And what I learned from him is what I call motivated architecture with risk.
Uh-huh.
And then over here, the top picture is Stravinsky.
Stravinsky, yeah, okay.
And below him is Tchaikovsky.
Yeah, I can recognize the beard. Nice, yeah.
For the long range dramatic architecture, I mean, these are fantastic composers and influences on me too.
Yeah. Oh, it's so wonderful. It's I'm very happy that we are talking about this.
You know what? In the COVID, I had more time during this whole time, especially now when I'm not teaching, So I'm learning a piano. I'm a pianist. I'm learning a piano program of my favorite dead composers. I'm memorizing it. Bach, Beethoven, Chopin, Debussy, and a jazz piece. And I'm having a great time at it.
We are lucky. We are musicians. We always have something to do. We always
That's right.
like
exactly.
Oh,
That's
that was another interesting question I wanted to ask you. That's very you can answer very quickly. Okay. That, like, at the point or the stage of your life, yeah, you achieved you got awarded so many awards. You achieved the recognition. You made it as a successful female composer. Was it always your goal to become like this persona? And what's your goal right now? What's your desire still?
I never had those goals. I always thought I was not very good and that I would be kind of falling behind everybody. And all I could do was be in my studio trying to write the best piece I could. That was my goal. That still is my goal. All this other stuff is great. It's very nourishing, to get a big award. Whoa, whoa, you start to feel like, wow, I can actually pull some weight here, but it fades fast. What doesn't fade is the music itself. And I've been very lucky that some pieces have not faded and some pieces get played all the time. And then I have three kinds of children. They are my children. I have my boring children that they just sit there and do nothing. They just kind of sleep. You sleep through it, Then I have my delinquents, I call them. They behave spectacularly well at certain points and very badly at other points. They go up and down, up and down. Yes. And then I have my stars that behave about 80-90% of the time pretty good. So, and I'm very aware of the difference of these three kinds of children. Yeah.
Yes.
And
it's nice comparison and explanation of the work. Yes. It's wonderful. Yeah. Do you have some advice for the composers of these days, especially female composers? What should be their focus on? And
well, what I tell young composers of both sexes, male or female, is to start their own group. And the reason I think that's a very important thing to do is that they can control their musical life much better that way. They're not at the hands of being rejected for this award and that competition and this performance, because they can do it with their own group. Say, and yes. Most of the well-known composers have done that.
Yeah,
Steve Reich did it. Phil Glass did it. There's all kind. Bang on a Can is a different model. There's different models where they don't actually play in the group, but they present the group, or they get together as a group. There's different models, but it's an important thing to do because that way you can control your musical vision.
Yeah,
with friends.
I can see it also. Jessie Montgomery, she has also her group, and basically they are.
That's right.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's very important.
She's doing, that's really good idea. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for these insights and wonderful discussion and about interesting topics. It was really, really nice for me to do and talk with you.
Well, it was a very nice interview. It was very, very nice. Thank you for your nice questions and also good luck with your project. I think it's a wonderful project.
Yeah.